Welcome to Strategic Transformations with Nikki. I am Nikki Cates Miller, mom of 4 girls, grandmother, wife, certified life success coach, holistic empowerment trainer, and life strategist. We are here to find inspiration and strategies for fulfilling life and work. Let's transform together. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, we just lost somebody. Oh, she's coming back in. All right. Welcome back, Lisa. Welcome back. I just let you back in. Oh, you got a picture now, hey? All right, I am Nikki Cates Miller, lead transformation strategist for Strategic Transformations and the owner of the launching Global Women's Transformation Collective. We're all about strategy and transformation for women, and particularly in marginalized communities, which as women in this world, we are all marginalized, to be honest with you. So, that's kind of where we're focusing our efforts. I am not going to show you all live because we're just going to talk about it because now Jira wants to get in on the conversation. All right. So I'm just curious, what drew you to the call? Because I know that we're talking about coming out of survival mode, tired of just surviving. So tell me, anyone have any thoughts on that, or what drew you to the call?
This is my first. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, this is my first time here, and what drew me is I realized I'm just running through life, just surviving, just operating in that fight, flight, freeze mode, and there's no joy in that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then all my decision making is coming from that place of fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I need quality to my life. I'm 61. I need to do something. I need a different frame of reference in my mind that rather than just hitting the grind, living day to day, surviving day to day, I want to not only live, but I want to thrive. And I think speaking with like-minded people, I think that's a great thing that I can accomplish here.
All of the difference, to be honest with you, Lisa. I have just learned this in the last year, honestly. I am turning 46 years old this year. I am just really learning that it really is about the people that you have around you to pour into you.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we get started. Hold on 1 second. Put it in airplane mode, baby. That's why. Now do it. All right. Anyone else? Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am actually coming out of that space of drifting life. I'm actually starting to actually live life, and that's because I'm living it on purpose. And that's something else that I've realized is that when we're not being intentional about actually living, you kind of just go through the motions. You kind of just stuck in survival mode. You kind of stuck in scarcity and lack, and you kind of just stay stuck and just drifting through life. Life actually happens to you as opposed to you happening to life. And I know for me personally, I wasn't taught otherwise. I didn't know any better for a very long time. I just thought the cards that you're handed, you're dealt, and that you just figure it out, right? I was a teen mother at 16. I got pregnant at 16. Actually, Dr. Shavon Lamar here was actually there through all of that. So yes, I have 4 daughters, and I spent the youth of my so far of my life raising children. This is my first grandbaby, so I did something right because she waited 10 years before giving me a grandbaby. It's been quite taxing, but at this point in my life, I have reinvented myself, and I have also kind of reinvented my life and figured out a way to start over and to really find a way to be fulfilled, even when things aren't where I want them to be. So 3 P's of transformation is what we're going to be talking about today. And if you've listened to my podcast, that's what we've been talking about this month. That's been the theme this month for the podcast is peace, prosperity, and purpose. And we've been comparing that to the other side. So survival mode is the opposite of peace, right? Scarcity and lack is the opposite of prosperity or abundance. And we're going to talk about it because those are not interchangeable. Many of us think that they are. And then you also have just kind of drifting through life without intention, without purpose, as opposed to living life on purpose, making decisions that align with who you are at your core and where you're going. And then Dr. Shavon Lamar here is also going to bring in the physical aspects of that and how it affects us as women. Physically, emotionally, like all of this affects us in every way. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about because I had a whole lot of ailments going on when I was broke, busted, and disgusted and miserable. I know I'm not the only one. All right. So any other thoughts before we jump in? No? Y'all don't like me putting you on the spot, do you? Dr. Shavon, do you have anything you want to say before we start? Oh, you're muted. Yeah. There you go.
And bear with me with this technology. You know me, sister, trying to get used to all this.
You got it. You got it.
Feeling old here. I kind of agree with everyone. I think we all been there. I feel like I'm still like I kind of get out of survival mode a little bit, and then I get sucked back in it sometimes. It's just like trying to get in, get out. Another overpass, and things like that with it. So yes, definitely.
Okay.
And I think all the different aspects of it, holistically, when you're looking, like you said, mentally and spiritually, physically and financially and all those different things, it's real easy for one of those to break or not function properly, and then you're right back into survival mode all over again. And then it just trickles down and snowballs into a mess sometimes.
Most times.
Yeah.
This whole week and the last week, I just feel like it just threw me off my game, y'all. My routine is thrown off. I went to hot yoga this morning. I didn't go right afterwards, and it just felt like something was off because I didn't stick to my routine. And that's been one of the things that's been my saving grace, honestly, and being intentional about living a life that has, that I feel like I'm walking in purpose and, going after prosperity, even if I'm not fully seeing it the way I want to see it yet. So, and definitely peace. Like when I know I'm doing the things that I know are going to move me into that space, then I definitely have peace, even if I'm not there yet. So I think that has a whole lot to do with it, but you're absolutely right. And the main y'all that she and I both share with this organization is that we both believe that it is a holistic effort. Like all of it plays a part. And that's been for my life for sure. Like I've had to learn how to manage what I eat, what my sleeping, how much I sleep, how to use my energy. A lot of us don't realize that time and energy are not the same thing, right? You have to manage each of those separately. So it's just things like that, taking those types of things into account and looking at it from a big picture, or what we would say in a spiritual sense with an eagle's eye, which is where your spiritual relationship would be beneficial, because obviously when you're looking at things from a spiritual perspective, God can see all. And so he can help you to see from that broader perspective as a whole, that whole, view, as opposed to just what you can see through your eyes, right? We have two eyes and we can only see in front of us and somewhat on the side. We can't see our back. We can't watch our own six. We can't see from all angles. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. All right. So another thing that is the foundation of what we'll be talking about, it always stems from the KLB strategy, which is to know, love, and be. As a coach, I firmly believe in becoming reacquainted with yourself. Every time that I've pivoted in my life, it's because I had to go back to square one every single time. But once you've done it one good time, it gets easier every time. But really reconnecting with yourself, realigning, because like Shavon said earlier, it is so easy to get off track, y'all. Like life's demands, people, relationships, circumstances, Like these things throw us off track. We lose sight of who we are, how we're showing up in the world, how people perceive us. Like, are we walking towards what we want or what other people want? You know, a lot of times that misery comes from that. It is doing what other people want as opposed to, you know, what we should be doing. So that's kind of like where we focus. And then you have the love aspect. And there goes the pup. Sorry, my apologies, y'all. And so I honestly believe that 3 Ps is what will bring transformation in your life. Any comments on that before we move into the first piece? No? Right. First, hold on, you 1 second. All right, y'all. I'm so sorry. This is bad timing. Please forgive me. Okay, so we're going to talk about the first P. And so the first P, we're going to be talking about survival mode. Now, y'all tell me what survival mode feels like. Because I know you know, but I don't want to speak. How does that feel to you?
Stress, anxiety, frazzled, frustrated. Exhausting.
Confused, frustrated, drained, exhausted, stuck in a cycle, or just stuck in general. Yeah, does that sound familiar to anybody? It sounds familiar to me. I'm going to keep it all the way real. So, but you know what the thing is that as women, depending on the background that we come from, we're automatically introduced into survival mode.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even if you're not a parent or a spouse, like even just in a professional way, you have to learn how to survive in this world in order to protect yourself or to provide for yourself. So survival mode is a part of being a woman. Obviously, if you're a minority woman or a part of a marginalized community, there's other layers that are added on top of that. But as a woman in general, we are brought into the world and having to figure out how to survive. I did some research when I first did the first P earlier in the month, and I was like, man, the United States of America is not even at the top of the list for women's rights, for women's health, for women's like closing the gender gap, none of that, you know? But we're supposed to be the superpower and the advanced in this world, but women are still not where we could be or should be. So this is something that's very real for us, is being stuck in survival mode. Is anyone familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yep.
All right. So you see where I'm going with this. Do you remember the bottom, the biggest portion?
Yeah, I know you need security, meaning food, shelter, and safety.
That's right.
Right? Yeah.
The basics. Where am I going to live? How am I going to pay my rent or my mortgage? What am I going to eat? I know I should be eating healthy, but can I afford to eat healthy? You know, I'm talking about the vegan lifestyle. Can I afford to eat the vegan lifestyle? Can I afford to buy organic? Can I keep my power on? Or like, I'm gonna be very transparent with y'all because we're gonna get to prosperity. I have been without all of the above at some point in my life. Power, water, gas, vehicle, all of that. And all of that is the very base, the very bottom of that pyramid. If we don't meet first, it's very difficult to build on top of that. It's kind of like going to somebody. If I go on the street and I find someone and say, hey, I want to help you transform your life and begin to move and walk in purpose, but they're hungry and they don't have anywhere to sleep. Are they going to receive that?
No.
Not at all. Not even a little bit, right? Because that very basic level needs to be fulfilled. That was one thing that was very difficult for me. initially, is understanding that there are seasons in our lives, and that in certain seasons, sometimes you have to focus on where you're at. And if you're at that bottom, you can't be looking at self-actualization, y'all, when you're still trying to figure out how to survive. What can you do to make that more stable? Is it a better job? You know, for me, I've had to relocate at times to do this. So it's that sort of thing. Shavon, what do you think as far as someone that's still in the very bottom of that hierarchy, how that would affect them?
That affects everything. Actually, looking at a holistic view, especially like in healthcare, because I mean, even like so I'll just give you just an anecdote from healthcare. As a provider, oh, yeah, you need this medication or you need this treatment. Well, if you can't afford it, you're not going to get it. If you don't have a home, and we have to look at all those different, social things too, because again, you do have to go back to the basics, because some things may be here scientifically and all that. It's not going to make a hill of beans if you, if you can't afford, if you're not eating. 'Cause nutrition is very important. If your environment is messed up. I mean, they kind of like sell a holistic avenues, because we're looking at, and looking at health in general. You're looking at just physical, you're looking at emotional, there's mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental health, financial health, all of that plays into a part. You can't really improve on your station or even educationally as far as what you need to do for your self-care if you try to choose between a medication and having a place to live and having food. And
Do
you
you,
see that quite often.
I was going to say, do you see that yourself working with patients?
Yep, younger patients, you see that with older patients who are retired or living off Social Security, or they're living off, government assistance. It's not enough, and it's not that much. And so a lot of times they're like, I can't afford it. So a lot of times they're not complying or something, and we can't get them better or optimize their health because, well, it's this $40 medication, or feed my child, or have
Mhm.
lights, and you gotta have it for those basic needs. And you're gonna choose, usually you're gonna choose those first, and those needs are gonna win over something else that seems more optional. It may not necessarily be optional, but you have to choose those first.
Absolutely. And my crazy self, I did try to jump at the top of the pyramid various times in my life, knowing doggone well everything else under me was unstable. I would not advise that for y'all at all, not even a little bit. There is no peace in that.
Nope, that foundation unstable, you'll crash, you'll fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is that I think mostly it's giving yourself grace at where you are. If you're in survival mode, it really takes one looking within yourself and seeing, are you actually in survival mode, or are there changes you can make in that moment and in that season of your life so that you're not engulfed with it, and that you are able to find a way to start to move out of it, or at least have a plan instead of set a stage in front of you in order to get there, right? So like I was saying earlier, me creating routines to move me to the next point, to make sure I'm being intentional every single day when my feet hit the floor, that I'm moving myself into the next point where I want to get to, the next milestone that I want to meet, whether that's a higher paying job or getting a contract, or getting a certain amount of clients, or doing, paying off debt, whatever that looks like for you. It's not hopeless. And I want to just encourage y'all, because this is the thing that really blew my mind when I realized it, is that, just letting somebody in, is that first of all, we have a choice. As long as we have choices, we are never stuck. Usually if we're feeling stuck, it's because we're afraid to make a decision. But only you know what that looked like in your life. I know what it looks like in my life. Freedom and liberation comes from knowing that you have a choice. And a lot of times when we feel stuck, we feel like we don't have a choice. But if you were to sit and give yourself that time, and even spiritually, like just allow yourself to just release that weight to someone greater, you will see that you do have some choices in there somewhere. Thankfully, we are in a situation where we have, even if it was like a relationship or finances, there's a choice in there somewhere. It's just very difficult to make that decision. But I promise you, when you take the time to begin to look at survival mode, how it's affecting you, how you're living in it. Like Dr. Shavon was just saying, like what that looks like physically. Like if you were to sit and just be intentional just from that perspective, you can begin to find peace. Because peace is not perfect, and peace doesn't just happen. It's not a place you arrive to, y'all. It's a journey, right? You have to continually seek peace. You have to protect it and guard it. Like at 40, almost 46 years old, y'all, peace is everything for me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like who I put around me, what I do now at this point in my life, like what I allow, the boundaries I set, all of that is to protect my peace because I've lived without it for so long. Hey, welcome. So what y'all think about that? Survival mode versus peace.
Can I say something? I think to have peace, there's inner and outer peace. You have to have inner peace in order to have outer peace.
That's right.
You don't work, go inside yourself. So this is what I'm finding for myself lately. I'm like, okay, why don't I have outer peace around me? It has to be something within me. And I have to examine what's going on within me, my emotions and feelings, and examine that and deal with that. And before I can have outer peace.
That's right.
Because everything starts with the self.
Yep.
Excuse me, everything starts with the self.
Yep.
And what's going on within you, really.
Yep. You're right. And that's why my motto is
Because that reflects what's going on in your other areas of your life.
Right.
It's something that's going on within you.
Absolutely.
And it could be various things that's going on. You know, everyone's different.
Yep. Transformation begins above and
within. That's what, so I always stop myself and go within. I give myself that time to go within.
Yeah.
And I would usually like meditate. That's how I go within. I have to meditate.
Now I will say this now, Jamise, that is also it's also a place where you have to develop the skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know when I first started out practicing self-awareness, self-discovery, self-reflection, meditation, mindfulness, until you fully are healed in your heart and you're able to shut down that inner critic that we all have, then tends to be the unfortunate response to where you're harder on yourself than you should be, or you begin to see things from a space where it's one-sided. And that's why you need to have a community or a village also to assist you in that, right? Because you're absolutely correct. Like I write about this, I talk about it, I teach it, chaos versus clarity, right? Chaotic living is basically what we're talking about, where survival mode, right? There's no intention. You're not practicing intentionality in what you're doing, and you're
but while you're in survival mode, you really have to look within yourself.
That is
this
correct.
Is something that you put yourself in this position, and what made you, you know, we're all product of our choices and decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
but all of us are not in the same place.
When I'm like when I see something that's challenging, I'm like, wait a minute, what is it within me that I feel like I need to work through? Maybe it could be something I'm doing with, you know, to myself that I shouldn't be doing. It could be anything, physical, mental, you know, like self-talk, you know, negative self-talk, you know, because we're always hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
That's an example.
Absolutely. But we're not all strong enough immediately. You've already done the work, obviously.
Yeah. It's work.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very difficult.
I work, you know, and it's daily work. It's, you know, a lot of work.
Yeah. However, I say doing it alone, though, puts you in one perspective space, which one perspective. So that's why I encourage you to also have a village around you, because I did it for a long time on my own. I was like, it's me.
Oh, I see. I didn't start this journey on my own, though.
You're right. See, there you go.
I didn't start it on my own.
There
I'm like, now I'm able to handle it on my own, but I did not start on my own.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're speaking to everyone here, not just people that have already been up the road. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From
I feel like I feel like I'm still going up the road though. I'm not,
all
you
of
know,
us.
up, you know, it's like a daily, you know,
Yeah.
thing
It's
that I have
a
to work on.
lifetime, please. It's a
Right.
lifetime.
Right. It's a lifetime thing. Right. It is a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transformation is a lifetime. You're always
Right. It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Lisa, you had something to share?
No, I just totally agree. You do need companionship. You do need the village. And that's something that I struggle with because I don't have anybody.
Mm.
I don't have any family, didn't have children. So I'm feeling very vulnerable and very isolated. And well, as I'm getting older, I think it's starting to hit me more.
Mm.
And that's another reason why I've reached out to join this group is I need to feel a sense of community, support.
It makes a huge difference, Lisa. I self-isolated for a very long time. Even having Dr. Shavon there as my best friend all these years, I was very apt to removing myself and not making myself accessible when I was going through, which was a years spans of time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like really coming out of that now and welcoming relationships in. I'm starting to see it makes a world of a difference, Lisa. I believe that step you're taking there is one of the most important steps. Being willing to look within yourself and being willing to allow others in. Now, I will say now that all of us do not have access to that initially around us. I didn't. I had to go out and find. So I had to make friends. I had to join communities. I had to get a therapist. I had to join coaching groups or mentoring groups or communities in order to create that village for myself. And then when I put myself in those positions, I was able to find people specifically that would help me on my growth journey. So keep that in mind as you're doing this. One, they're not just going to fall in your lap. You have to be intentional. Again, there's that word, intentional about it. And then pursuing it, just like with anything else, right? Like Shavon was just talking about, Dr. Shavon. Tell us more about what you think about how this plays into, what you're thinking, what you're talking about.
Me? All right.
Yes.
Well, I kind of want to go back and maybe just go back to, I guess, more definitions type of things. So we're talking about survival mode. I know you asked, how do we feel and what we think about that? So to me, survival mode comes from stress, whether it's a short-term stress, whether it's something that's episodic, whether it's chronic, and things like that, which we know. And and Lisa mentioned that too, about being fight or flight, or freeze mode, which I just said they just have, flight, fight, freeze, or fawning, which fawning is a funny word, and I think that it just shows how we cope, and we may not cope the same. So some situations we may run, some we want to fight. Some of it we do, and sometimes, and fawning, I think a lot of times get misunderstood. I think I'm a fawner in certain aspects because you want to avoid conflict, you'll be a people pleaser, and you kind of neglect yourself and things like that. So I think a lot of times just going back to that is realizing, like you said, I think we're always going to be in some sort of survival mode. I think it's about, can we optimize how we cope with it? Can we optimize our health and all of it? And extend all those different dimensions. And but relationally, definitely, because you got to have that accountability. You have that extra perspective. You have, like you said, someone getting your six. And I think sometimes we put relational as in just us and other people that are on a more personal level. And like you mentioned, the therapist, like that's in relation, our own relationship to ourselves, as Jami's put it, we got to look in their spiritual relationship. So who are you looking to as far as anything like that? Familiar, with family or friends, using a therapist, that's a relationship. It's maybe more of a professional relationship, or a coach is still something that helps, because all those different components help give you accountability, can give you some hope, can give you perspective, can give you strategies, and it all kind of really fits in. I know because I can be in my moment, and then you'll quickly be like, hey, did you think about it this way? And like, I don't want to hear that right now, but then like some things too, even like I'm, upset about somebody else, and because you're stuck in feeling mode, which is now you're emotional, and that health is not optimized. You need a person to say, okay, factually, let's look at it this way. What do you have this way to deal with it? sometimes you do it yourself, sometimes you can't because and we're all kind of fall victim to the emotional thing, So to me, I feel like survival is just not say dysfunctional, it's just maybe you're not optimizing all those health in there because health, for us, and I went to school and my schooling was more holistic in nature too. It wasn't just westernized medicine and retreat. It's kind of being preventative and it's looking at health and it's changing your perspective as health. Does not mean you're 100% in every single thing all the time. And
Right.
maybe your only max is 90%. So can you, but today I'm 20, I need to get close to 90 as I can. So you're optimizing what you have. And which is a process because like a lot of people say, you sometimes you're not taught something that you may not know, starting off where you got different trauma, different experiences. And as you grow and you progress, then okay, hey, my optimization of my spiritual health may not be 40, now maybe 50, and maybe 60. And giving yourself grace to realize, okay, I'm not 100 and I'm not there yet, but I can get there. And then you may fall back a little bit. It's kind of optimizing that. So I think, and all that does play a part into each little realm that we have that you're dealing with. And if you're focusing on one, sometimes it's kind of hard to get all of it. So I think a lot of us want to be 100%. And to me, I think thriving is going to get to the point, kind of like where it's not necessarily choosing one or it's just getting upset because you good on all of these and this one you are second that and just trying to get it all up to one as close as you can optimize all of it as much as you can when you can. If you can't, you give yourself grace, figure it out. You have your relationship, you have other things to help you get you there, but you got to be able to try to optimize as much as it because they all spill into each other so much. And a lot of people don't realize that. Physically, I'll say for women, I don't know how many times women will come in and know my neck hurts and I've been having headaches and this hurts my shoulders and I don't know what's going on. A lot of times, like it's like a little bit more stressful for you than it has been. Yeah, I've been good at this. Like y'all realize we put it, every single person I know that's we put it here. We carry it all right here every time. And then you can't sleep because your neck hurts and you got headaches. And, I know for me, sometimes your pain is up too much, then you don't eat as well, or you eat too much and that affects other things. And then or you eat out of your feelings, or you don't eat because of your feelings. And then, okay, if you're going to eat more and not eat enough, now I got to have money to feed that increased appetite because I'm stress eating. But now this can take away from something else. So it all just kind of plays and just snowballs into everything.
Mhm. And I like how you said that because I mean, that's the premise of everything that we do is acknowledging that it is a holistic effort, right? There's, what do you say, intersectionality across the whole realm of it, right? So your physical, your spiritual, your mental, your emotional, all of that is intertwining and affecting each other. It's interesting because sometimes we think that our professional life is not also affected by all of that, when really in some way all of that is being affected. I'll tell y'all, I think I told this story in my podcast. It was years ago, early in my journey of walking this stuff out, y'all, because I had to walk this stuff out before I could teach it. And I remember I had this dream about a trash can, but it was the one, with the top on it, right? And so I just kept stuffing stuff down in there, pressing it down. You know how we do, trying to get as much into the trash bag as we can, pressing it down, and thinking that because I was pressing it down and closing the top, that nobody could see that it was getting full. But the smell was still seeping out from under the top. And that's life, right? Whether it's your personal to your professional to your personal, in some way, that negativity or that survival mode or that frustration or confusion or, misery, all of that still seeps into the other aspects of your life. It's never going to be perfect, y'all. That's why I don't like using the term work-life balance, because I just honestly don't think that there ever will be a fantastic balance for us. Like Shavon said earlier, like it changes day to day, like today I'm not 90% on my spirituality. I didn't pray this morning. Like I did not make the time to do that, so it's like it does shift. But I think the key here, y'all, is taking the time. At least I encourage you to do this. Take some time first thing in the morning. Y'all, just give yourself 15 minutes starting out. 15 minutes. And just take the time to just sit. See, Jamise, you probably already do this because you're already a little further up the road.
I do that every morning when I get up. I don't even get up out of bed right away. I just lay there silently and quietly, just
Mhm,
in stillness,
mhm. Yeah, just sit there and just
stillness,
think
just think,
about, yes, feel your feelings.
I think about nothing. I'm just like, just still. I don't want to think about anything. I'm just grounding myself before I get out of bed.
Yeah, grateful for breathing. Another,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to feel your feelings. Personally, I have to do a whole dump. I journal. So I'll do a dump on a page, mind, emotions, however many pages it's going to take. I'm just going to dump it all out on the page. No questions, no thoughts about grammar, none of that stuff. Y'all, I'm a writer. So it took me a while to get past trying to go back and make corrections. And is it grammatically?
I do the same. It's a habit for my
Brain dump.
teacher. So as I'm writing, I'm like, no, gotta go back, fix that.
Right. Let me scratch that out. Of course. Just listen. You have to assess the situation in order to see where you are. I'll give you a prime example. I'm currently writing an ebook along this subject. Think about you're at the mall and you got that map, right? And the map shows you all these little boxes with the little numbers and it tells you what store on the legend is what number, right? But what's the most important thing you're looking at on that map? Where are you in reference to the rest of this, right?
That's right.
If you don't know where you are, you're going to go to the wrong place and hit the wrong spots along the way. So you got to know where you are. You are here. That little spot that says you are here. So you know where you're going to get to the food court or the Victoria's Secret. All right. That's life, y'all. A lot of times we just walking around strolling or either following someone else's path and we don't even know where we are on that map in order to get to where we're trying to get to, or even knowing what store we need to go to. I've done that before. I went to the mall and had no idea what store I wanted to go to. So I'm just wandering. I know I'm not the only one, y'all. Hopefully you guys can relate to that. And that's one way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So think of life that way. That's life as well, right? Where are you and where do you need to be? And if you don't know, that means there's a self-discovery that needs to take place so that you can align yourself with wherever that number and that legend where you're trying to get to, you know, the path you need to take to get there. And that alone will give you more peace, because then you know you're not living for other people or for external, that you're living aligned with who you are, why you're here, and what matters to you. Does that make sense?
Very well. Very well put. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's where peace comes in, y'all. It really comes into one, why am I in survival mode? What can I do about it? I don't think any of us on here, like I've been homeless. I'm be honest. I know what it feels like when you're in that space. How am I still homeless and I'm still trying to start a business? Like, make that make sense. But in my heart, my mind, that's where my faith was. I thought that I could do that, but you cannot. You have to focus on where you are, accept that season, and begin to move yourself to the next point or the next milestone to get to that place. So hopefully that makes some sense. What do y'all think before we move on to the next one?
A lot. Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. All right. Anyone else before we move on to our second P? Shavon, do you have anything else on that? I'm sorry, someone was going to say something. Go ahead.
So she could go. She could go. I was just gonna say that you really mirror my situation so much.
Okay. Do you mind sharing a little bit, or you just that's it? That's all you got for us?
Well, I just came in late, so late person just want to catch up. So I want to hear what you has to say.
Shavon, do you have anything else on this one?
I don't know. There's so much, it can just break out so much. So I don't know, Nick. Like,
all right. So since we're talking about finding peace and knowing where we are on that map, I want to encourage you all, if you haven't already, I do have a 14-day self-discovery coaching workbook that is free to download on my website, www.nikkicates.com. And in there, you're going to have journal prompts in there. You're going to be able to take assessments. There's even a wheel of life in there. When we're talking about holistic, right? The wheel of life gives you all aspects of life, and you get to see where you are pertaining to those different aspects of life. And I promise you, if you do it every couple of days, you'll be amazed at how much it changes. Very similar to what Shavon was talking about earlier. So if that's something that, you're trying to figure that part out, I promise you now, until you really connect with where you are and where you're wanting to go or needing to go, there isn't going to be much peace. Okay. Because even when things seem like proverbially the shit hits the fan, really.
Uh-huh.
Gonna happen. Okay, let's be real. But
Yep.
you have to be able to have that peace regardless. Now, I'm going to be perfectly frank here with y'all. I am a woman of faith, and I do strongly believe that faith for me is a very grounding factor that helps me to do all of this. Now, that doesn't mean if you're not a woman of faith that you cannot walk this journey successfully. I'm just saying that with faith, it's going to make the journey a little bit smoother and maybe a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You bet.
All right. All right.
And Nikki, I do want to say something.
Go ahead.
I know you're going to get to some, different strategies later, and like how you mentioned, and Mrs. was talking about that too, as far as having that space and that time in the morning.
Mhm.
I know I had to redirect myself because, stuff has been chaotic. And like you said, things kind of fall back and forth, and they do, because professionally, I'm in a chaotic space.
Mhm.
Being home, you're tired, and it does affect, because my girls don't get the same mom
Mhm.
as I would be if that chaos wasn't there, that negativity wasn't there. And I was looking at something and reading some things, and because when you're kind of in the I guess, a state of chaos or survival, like you said, you're running, you're just moving and kind of hustling and going through life. A lot of times you start letting some things slide. And I was going to tell my, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. And it's something just even simple. It takes 2 seconds, but I don't have time. I don't have time. And one thing I was reading, it was saying, if you just even get up in the morning and make your bed, that it takes 2 seconds. It really takes that long to make your bed, but it's that one little space, because you're forcing yourself to stop, slow down just for a second. It's not an hour. It's not 30 minutes. Just stop, slow down, and do that. And that I kind of mirror with what, what I do with some of my students, that I've been kind of continuing from what I got one of my professors too. Not only that, in the morning time, and it kind of, your day may not go any, I think, slow, change time, but it does kind of give you a second to slow down and kind of not just start, full speed ahead and everything. And you're not giving yourself a chance to have a strategy. You're just running. The same thing too, I think, at the end of the day, because with many of us, I know I'm very bad about that. Everything that happened today, it'll keep playing. It'll keep playing, and it'll keep playing. And I'm tossing and I'm turning, and I can't get to sleep. And you gotta kind of be able to relax, to rest in order to rest. So a lot of times too, and I've told you that before, and I share that with you. It's just having those few minutes, even 5 minutes before you go to sleep. Just do something. You're not thinking about anything. You're not reading anything. You just mindless activity. Let your brain just calm down a little bit, because that's a different type of rest from physical rest too. It's just, hey, whew, if it's 5, 10 minutes, I tell my kids to sit, because they'll do the same thing. Oh, I didn't have time to wash your window. I had time to do it. Well, what are you doing right now? You have 24 hours. It takes you 5 minutes to put your shoes back in the closet, then it's to drop it right there when you came in the house. And I mean, I know, because I've guilty of that. I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time to cook anything. I gotta. What time I have to wait for the food to get here? I mean, you can multitask, but you're still being busy. So, like it's, I think that was really interesting, just to look at that, and just like take that little minute just to something. That's kind of menial. It's a regular chore that you normally do, but okay. That environment, just having your bed made, that environment, that few minutes to make your bed, is just kind of slow down the pace for a second before you start running. Then your environment's not as chaotic, because the bed is actually made. It's giving you some pieces too, because it's your environmental part of it. So I think it's kind of both, having just even little small moments of in the morning and in evening time before you start all the craziness in between, when you're surviving. You actually kind of have a chance to, take a break, slow down some, versus survive, run, try to sleep, survive, run, try to sleep. You don't actually have anything in between that's breaking those up.
Yep, I agree. I do want to piggyback off of that though, and encourage you all that when you begin to dive into yourself more and begin to know yourself more and begin to fall in love with her, it's going to become more automatic to spend time, just like we would do with a significant other that we're just meeting, or a new friend.
Mhm.
You have to invest that time and that energy, and you have to give her that time and energy, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, think about it. You have 24 hours in a day, and you give her 10 minutes a day, is kind of bananas. But obviously you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But just giving yourself that, it will become like a snowball effect, where you'll want to spend more time with yourself, and you'll want to dive deeper and see who you are and why, and then you'll become more mindful, right?
So that's
Practice self-awareness, and you'll begin to notice, Shavon, how you were talking about the racing thoughts, right? Practicing mindfulness. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking this? Y'all, when I started practicing this, it was so hard at first. But I began to realize anytime my mood dropped was because I was either living in the past, replaying it, or I was trying to figure out the future, which I cannot.
That's right.
you have to
Right?
live present. You gotta live
So
in the now. present.
Exactly. Mindfulness
can
is
live
not just,
and live in the future. It
yes,
has to be the present.
right. Mindfulness is not just lotus, half lotus.
Right.
Right. Mindfulness is a skill that you acquire in order to move through life, because sometimes, y'all, sometimes I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'll start talking to myself. I don't care where I am, because I have to stop those thoughts. I literally have to say, nope, we're not doing that, Nikki. And I might look crazy when I do it, but it works. And so just becoming more mindful of that as well. And Shavon, you're absolutely right. I've also learned to do mindless activities, y'all. I started doing painting, coloring, sometimes just writing, like just not even like writing like for an intention, just writing, right? Just something creative. Or just for me, I'm a little bit of a geek. I love to watch documentaries. And for me, that works for me. So I'll watch like, you know, a nature documentary or something mindless, like, forgive me, y'all, swamp people. I love watching swamp people. I like watching them shoot alligators. But I don't know. Stuff like that works for me. And it helps me to decompress. I also play like games before I go to sleep, like a puzzle or something I don't have to think about, right? So just giving yourself those intentions, and then setting your intentions for yourself, right? When you do that in the morning or before you go to bed, I'm going to rest well. I'm going to monitor my thoughts till I fall asleep. I'm going to listen to nature sounds to help me calm myself, whatever that is. Just give that to yourself, right? That's part of the knowing yourself and loving yourself, right? And that's the most important person. I want to ask y'all a question real quick before we move on. And all of this, survival mode, lack, drifting in life, what is the common denominator in all of your relationships, in every environment, and every hat that you find yourself wearing and in on a daily basis? Oh, wow. Y'all got quiet on me.
Yeah, ourselves.
The common
We're the common
denominator is you,
denominator.
my sisters. You
We
are
are.
the common denominator. We can't manage anyone or anything outside of ourselves. All we can do is manage ourselves. And so that's why I'm a strong advocate for teaching women self-leadership, because then you become a leader, not just of life, but of yourself. And like Shavon was saying, if you're not even going to take 2 minutes to make over your bed, are you going to give yourself 2 minutes to think about your thoughts? Like all of this stuff trickles in together, right? Are you disciplined to exercise? Because if you're disciplined to exercise, you can practice that discipline in other ways as well. So hopefully that's a blessing to somebody. Just think about it, journal about it later, and see where you're at with it and how you can apply it to your life. Because I'm still applying it on a daily basis, even though I'm sitting here teaching it, y'all. That's fact. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next P. So we remember we're doing a 3 P's of transformation. So the first one was peace, and we were comparing that to survival mode. The next one is prosperity, but I want to be clear that prosperity focuses on riches and finances and so forth. Abundance is a lifestyle. It's a way of living. Okay, so I don't want us to confuse the two, but I want us to claim that if we're focusing on prosperity, that we're also going to have an abundant mindset in the process. So what would be the opposite of prosperity or abundance, y'all?
Lack, right? A lack.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, scarcity or poverty, however, those are very strong words that people can shy away from, but very realistically, yes, absolutely. You're right. Also, tell me, Mel, we talked about survival mode, which 9 times out of 10, y'all, if you're living in survival mode, it's because there is lacking. So what does lack feel like?
Well, it's fearful because there's not enough. So you don't feel like, well, I don't feel like I could fulfill my dreams or desires if there's something missing. And there's a lot missing, you know, because I'm living in lack. And I know it's a mindset, because I could also claim powerfully the abundance that I live in, and it's there. I just want to get more into the mindset that I live in abundance, even if I don't see in the moment that I have what I need, you know?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head, Lisa. You really did. And isn't it crazy that as women, we typically know what we need to do, or we know the right answer. We're just not, for some reason, initiating that, living it in our lives.
That's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Mhm.
me too. I'm a work in progress, just like y'all, okay? So
That's the human experience, right?
absolutely, right. Absolutely. Yes. So Shavon, what do you think about us tapping into lack and poverty mindset along with prosperity and abundant living? How does this affect us? The pain
Oh,
point.
and I mean, like in totality, or it's everything. Like I said before, it's about your health.
Mhm.
Like you said, you're looking at wealth, not necessarily just monetary, but you're looking at your wealth of your peace, your wealth of your health. So looking at that versus just, and not have to necessarily be a lack and I have. It's okay. On that continuum, are you progressing towards something that's better? Are you trying to optimize? Because, someone, even if you're looking at money amount, may be a millionaire, but they may lack, very poor emotionally or poor relationally or poor spiritually. And, you see all the time people who may have a little, but they're happier and they have pretty much optimized different things. And you have somebody who's has a lot of money, and you think, oh, if I have that much money, I can do this, and I'm less stress free, and blah blah blah, and they don't want to even be on Earth anymore. So
Yeah.
it's like I think it's prosperity, like you said, it's more to me, it's more trying to optimize what you have, and try, and abundance is kind of you get it. To me, it's a byproduct kind of. Once you kind of hit a certain level, it comes along with that.
Okay.
But it's not to me a amount or a number. It's just,
Right.
I guess, not a quantity, more quality than the quantitative, I think.
I agree. And let's be clear that it's very subjective, y'all. Like, all of this is subjective. If I say this makes me happy, that's not what's going to make Jamise happy necessarily, right? It's subjective. Success. What's successful to me may not be what's successful to Lisa.
Mhm.
It's all subjective. So even when you're talking about prosperity, what does your number look like, or your bank account need to look like, or your home, or whatever it looks like, in order for you to feel like you're living prosperously? But I think,
And I
Siobhan,
think,
abundance to me, I feel like the way you just described it, I think abundance is that it's the optimization of what you do have. Because let's be honest, y'all, we're all living in the United States of America. Well, Saya, you're in Mexico, but you are American. We are living in the US, and the fact is that we make more than most people in the world, even when we're at the bottom of the totem pole in the United States of America. We have clean water. Okay, majority of us. There are some of us that do not, but we have clean water. For the most part, we can get something to eat. It may not always be healthy, but we have access to food. We can ask for help if we need help. We have organizations, governmental programs, and so forth. We can start businesses, right? Even though it may seem to some to be far off and unattainable, I promise you it is not. One thing that I love, so you all may not know this about me, but my husband is Jamaican. And one thing that I love about Jamaicans, when you go to Jamaica, is you see so many entrepreneurs. It's because that's how they figure out how to survive in the world. They don't just go and look for someone to help them. They pull the fruit off the trees. They go and they kill the chicken or whatever. They prepare the meals, or they craft and create something. And this is probably in other third world countries as well. They find a way, right? Here in the United States of America, we don't necessarily have that mindset, right? We've been conditioned differently. So to us, that abundance or that prosperity may look a little bit differently. But the fact is that just being American in this country can provide us the opportunity to have a level of abundance if we have the right mindset about it. Does that make sense to y'all?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So what do y'all think about that? Because we can talk about, we're not going to sit here and go through a list of financial terms and whatnot. That's what our training programs will be for, and coaching groups. But what we will say is that obviously management plays a part in that, right? You're going to have to learn how to manage what you do have in order to, as Shavon said, optimize it, right? But at the same time, again, like Jimmy said earlier, it all starts within ourselves. How are we thinking about it? What does that look like for us? Do y'all even know what that looks like for you? Like for me, as long as I
Different
know
for-
I have choices, that for me, that's abundance for me, knowing that I can choose. And when I pursue finances, is to have choices and to provide those for my family. To me, that's abundance. That's freedom, right? So what do y'all think?
I think prosperity and abundance, that looks different for everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, because yeah. So it's how you it's like what you want from your life. What do you want as you're on your journey? What is that? You have to define what that looks like for you. You have to figure that out. That looks like for you, because it's not going to be the same for everyone. And all of us here, the abundance prosperity looks going to look different.
Yeah. And then if you go back to what we were saying earlier, when you're walking someone else's path, that's where misery comes in. That's where you don't have peace, right? So
if you're walking in your own path, on your own journey, which you're supposed to do, then you will figure out what that is, what that looks like for you along the way.
That's right. Which then means that you would have the courage to pursue it.
In the United States, we're all about what do our neighbors have, keeping up with the Joneses, and that's not abundance and prosperity.
Yeah.
It's not, Jimmy Choo shoes or driving a Porsche. That's not abundance and prosperity. That's if, you have the money, fine, you spoil yourself. You can have you can do those things. But that really isn't abundance and prosperity, because there are very wealthy people who become broke.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they become broke? Oh, they don't have generational wealth. That means they have nothing to pass down to their children. Why is that?
Yeah. Right. And then again, it goes back to what their values are. When you're doing that self-discovery,
So it goes back to the self again.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. It's almost like we're a broken record out here today.
That's right.
Yeah. All roads lead back to self.
All the roads do lead back to self, though. It does.
It does. Absolutely. That's why I love coaching, because in coaching, you automatically assume that your coachee is the expert of their own life.
Mm-hmm.
You're just asking the right questions and creating a space for them to be able to work that out.
Mm-hmm.
Telling them this is what your life is, and this is who you are, and this is what you need to go after.
Right.
As a coach, you're saying, you are the expert. Let me ask you the right questions. That's my skill, to ask you the right questions to guide you to figuring that out.
Right.
We're all the experts of our own lives, right? It's a fact. We may not feel like it. I know I didn't for a very long time. I thought I was just my worst nightmare. But I was living with a lot of self-hate because of mistakes I had made, experiences I had gone through, relationships that failed and so forth. So, again, it starts within. So that healing journey. Yeah.
And it's like we're a product of our experiences, but now we can change that.
Yep.
For ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because I grew up being a people pleaser. Right. I'm the oldest in the family, all the expectations on me, and it wasn't what I wanted for me. I was living a life what other people expected.
Yeah.
I learned, I was not having peace. That was not bringing me abundance and prosperity.
Yeah.
It affects every aspect of your life if you're not living in your authentic self.
That's right.
Being authentic to yourself.
That's right. You better preach, Jimmy.
But I learned this along the way. You got a life journey, and you have to go on that journey of self-discovery and discover the things.
That's right. So, Shavon, it's so funny that when you were speaking earlier, I thought about when you're talking about how it affects us, right? I was thinking about, I went to acupuncture last week, and the guy was like, well, what are we working on here? And, anything in specific? Are you having, stress in your life? And I was like, huh? Like, duh. He said, well, how long has that been going on? I was like, years? Like my whole life? Like, what kind of question is that, sir? Like, does someone come here and say I've only been stressed for like a month? Like, who is that? I want to meet this person.
I know.
Their life. So I was thinking
But
about that because I think that it affects us in so many different ways. Again, subjective, depending on the person, right? So some of us don't eat when we're stressed out. Some of us do. Some of us, like for me, I've gotten to the point now, y'all, I will prioritize making sure that I can buy stuff for us to eat that's on the healthier side, because for many, many years, and my mom is still like this, y'all, she'll have the extra, like to be able to say, let me go buy some, vegetables or fresh produce. But her mindset is still, I need to hold on, that scarcity thinking, right? So
yeah.
still go buy pot pies or, the processed foods that we're used to buying when we're broke, right? Because look, y'all, we ate a lot of breakfast for a long time. If y'all know what I'm talking about, we had no money. And pot pies and microwaved meals and sausages and all those chicken, lots of chicken, and not organic. So it affects the way that we look at how we pursue our health as well. Because I still know people that won't even invest the money into either healthcare or going to the doctors or paying for medications, or even like myself, I just started investing in my health from the perspective of like massages and facials and things like that, things that I avoided for many years. But now that I'm turning 46, I'm starting to see that I should have made those things a priority way long time ago, right? I could have, instead of wasting, my money in other ways. So it's all in how you look at it. That's how it can affect us on a physical level, I think. What do you think, Shavon?
And I think a lot of times too, we don't realize the cumulative effects of things. And so when something breaks is when we get the attention of it, and we didn't prevent it, whether it's physical health, emotional, any of that things. And it does affect each other. Like, if you look at just high blood pressure, but it's the silent killer. It is, because you don't realize, you don't feel it at the time. So I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to eat this way. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do anything to make a difference until now I had a stroke. My blood pressure is high and I'm having to take medication, something different. Well, it's kind of, not saying it's too late, but there's a whole lot you could have prevented previous to that. Were you mindful that, okay, this is risk for this is that, and it's again back to knowing yourself, knowing your risk, knowing this. Okay, maybe I need to kind of watch this a little bit. I mean, I'm in healthcare, but I'll tell you, as soon as my nice things I do good, sometimes I do bad, but soon my doctor was like, "Oh, you're pre-diabetic." Oh no, I'm not for diet. You know how the diet is restricted with diabetes. That leads to kidney. I worked in dialysis. I can't be doing no kind of diet. I already know this, so let me go ahead and try to do some stuff. Let me back up. Let me take some time out. If it's all right, I can't do that. Then will I do it if I had to? Sure, but I don't want to. And I know that, so I know better, and I know the different intricacies of like, let me. Oh no, this is not going to work for me because I like cheese too much. Oh, I can't be I can't be on dialysis. I gotta eat my cheese. It ain't good for you, I know, but I'm a rat. I like my cheese. I like my sugar. I get my sweet too sometimes, but it's better for me to do it in moderation than to wait till it's too late. And then it's like, oh, now you're dealing with that. And like I said, with the optimization, now and I'm 46, so my health is not going to be 100% from when I was younger. It may be, hopefully, is not 40%. Hopefully, it's not 20. This I can get to it. So what can I do to make it so where I'm still hanging in 80, hanging in 70 versus now I'm at 10%. That's all I got left to do. And I can't do any better because at this point, when that's changed and that's gone, you can't reclaim that. But you can, even then, you can still, do what you can to manage things. So yes, and I think like the scarcity that my teacher was saying back to that too. This is why I think it's not necessarily a number, necessarily quantity, it's a quality type of thing, because you can still be in scarcity mindset from saying being in lack or whatever, and you can now have the money, but you're still scarcity mindset, like you said, where you still hold on to things. Or you're so afraid to go backwards. Now you're keeping yourself in a constant state of anxiety and stress, trying to make sure that you don't become poor again, that you're not living, you're not having a peaceful existence, versus having a perspective that, okay, I mean, I say that in relationships too, because, we all go through, as a teenager, I have kids, teens like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I broke up with this person. well, come on, more than likely you weren't gonna marry this person anyway from junior high. Like you do for 40, 50, some people do, but but you're so stuck in this feeling in the mindset. And then you go through and you get over it and you survive it and you cope and you grow from it and then you go to it again. And it's just like sometimes it's like, you know what, I survived this already once.
Mhm.
I know how to survive it. So do I want to go back to it? Not necessarily, but I have the skills to do it. So if I have to do it again, I can. So not that you're just so much trying to run from something or trying to fight against something. It's okay, I have the peace understanding that I know how to deal with this. I don't want to, but I can.
I-
Having those tools.
yeah. And something that you said earlier that really, really hit the nail for me is that we have a choice, y'all. I think that's the main thing that I want y'all to take away from this. You have a choice. It starts within you, with you, and it requires you to be intentional in recognizing that, what those choices look like, right? So Shavon is telling you that a lot of those things that we're experiencing, something you said earlier, Shavon, you were talking about how preventive maintenance, right? Paying attention to yourself. How many times, I'm gonna just say this, women, we can say this about men, right? How many times, if we'd have just paid a little more attention instead of just brushing off whatever it was that we were experiencing, that we could have avoided something much bigger in our bodies, even just in our body. Like we're not even gonna go into our mentals, right? Or our finances or our relationships or what, like, again, holistically speaking, when you begin to practice that in one area, you begin to practice it in others. And so, like you said, being preventive about it, being mindful, paying attention to what's happening and being intentional about, okay, this is happening. Is this where I want to go? And if not, what do I need to do to change that? Do I want to end up having to live the life of a diabetic? Because my mother has been diabetic most of my life and her husband as well, right? And so for our whole youth into my 20s, they would check us every time we would visit them. They would check our blood sugar. And so I've been borderline my whole life, pretty much. I will say my adult life, right? But I made a sound decision that I did not want to have to give myself shots, take insulin, prick my finger, because man, after so many pricks, you know what? It hurts. I don't want to do it anymore. I just didn't want that lifestyle. I didn't want to put my kids through that because I know what it did for us watching my mom go through that. And so I had to begin to make those decisions, like you said, preventive maintenance, being mindful, because I have a sweet tooth. And even though I was vegan for y'all, I went vegan December 1st, 2020. And just in the last month, I became a vegetarian. I broke finally. It was intentional though, completely intentional. It wasn't like, oops, I ate cheese. No, literally, like I just made a decision that I was just gonna go ahead, because I think that I've that 3 years gave me the chance to become more intentional in what I eat, right? So I still am not gonna eat meat. I'm still not running through drive-throughs all the time and stuff like that. And I'm still mindful about those things and being, as you said, Shavon, preventive about it. So I think that that's a very good key that you gave us there. And I think that that also helps us in other areas as well. Holistically speaking, is just being mindful and paying attention. That way you can catch it. Or if you know that you're in a certain space, right, you can catch it before it gets worse. If you already see, for example, I am a depressive, right? I have been diagnosed with severe to moderate depression and anxiety. I did go on medication finally after getting over my fears of taking medication. Shavon helped me through that journey. If I had not done that though, y'all, if I had not done that, I wouldn't have been able to shift my life and pivot into this healthier space. If I had not have done that. And I think that all of us have those pivots that we need to make in order to shift us, whether it's we need to get out of a certain job because it's throwing us into a spiral, or a certain relationship, or you know what I mean? Like it's just certain, but again, that goes back to paying attention to what's going on in yourself and in your life. Okay.
And I would say, like you said, even that example, Nick, about the depression, and it's different pieces and parts to that too. And that's something, and like science and all the sort of things and complementing things holistically. It's just like say you have a car and you have a car and you need oil and you need gas. If you just give it gas, you still need oil. And
Yeah.
eventually the engine's gonna mess up because you didn't put the oil in it. And if
Mhm.
you gotta fix the engine, but well, let me go ahead and fix this fan over here. You know, your car's not gonna run. And we're probably the biggest, most sophisticated machine there is on this earth. And we actually have whole lot, you know, outside of something unnatural happening. Our lifespan, there's no car that's gonna last 40 or 60 or 70, 80, 90 years, no matter what you do to it. There is no building, machine, house that lasts this long and it's going to be pristine health and we think it's going to last that long. I don't know why we don't give ourselves the grace to realize that, you know what, we're aging. And I feel like, you know, I'm 46, I don't feel like I'm that old, I don't feel like I'm that young, but it's like, and I see patients, I don't know why I'm hurt. It can't be no arthritis. I'm only 50. I'm too young to be. Think about it, you're 50 years old. You've been walking on them knees for 50 years. My car is not going to run in the same tires for 50 years. And it's going to be not bald. You know, it's stuff like that. It's the same thing. You've been living, you've been thinking, you've been feeling, you've been eating and working and sleeping and everything you've been doing for these many years. It's going to take a toll.
Mhm.
And you got to be preventative. You got to know what steps to take. You got to look at it holistically because and then you may have to pivot, like you said, because I know I can't eat the junk I did when I was 16, 17, 18 because I can smell it. And it's like, oh, there goes that, that metabolism wore down. This is not going to work as well. And same thing with sleep. I'm so used to running, and you know, because I've been running with kids, with education, and all this stuff with work. 6, 7 o'clock, you know what? My brain is done. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, my brain, like, I can still do it. I got all this stress, I can still function cognitively. Brain is like, not no more. We're not doing that today. You
Yeah.
better sit your butt down, get some rest, because you can look at the computer all you want to, but you're not going to process not a daggum thing. Because right now, I'm tired. I'm out. I don't have the nutrition I needed. I don't have the oxygen I needed. I'm dehydrated. I'm not rested. I don't feel well emotionally. It's gone.
And you know what? That's funny you say that because that goes back to if you're thinking from an abundance place, then you know that you have more energy to come. So you can give yourself the grace to handle it. Like for me, realizing my energy zones helped me a lot, right? Because if I don't get it done during them green energy zone, it's going to wait. And I'm okay with that because I know that there's more, right? I don't have to be like, oh, I got to get all of this done. You know that how we used to be with the to-do list. You got to check everything off
Yep.
the to-do list or the day is ruined. But what I've realized is that, okay, y'all gonna look at me crazy, but my green energy zone is like 4:30 a.m. to like 1:30 p.m. After 2 o'clock, I'm in the yellow zone till about 8 o'clock. And then I'm just crashing after that. Like, don't even ask me to do nothing. Okay. Right. Except for when I'm on these calls, like I'm crashing until I get on the call, then I get energized. And then when I get off the call, I'm just going to crash. But from 4:30 to 1:30, I get as much as I can done. That's a priority. And I had to learn how to start setting priorities. How did I do that? By knowing my core values, because then I took my core values and said, this is what matters to me the most. So let me prioritize those things during that time. So if my self-care is a priority, let me make sure I'm going to get a workout in. Like I said, I went to hot yoga this morning, right? Or I get a walk in, or I'm going to write because that matters to me, you know, or I'm going to pray. I'm going to make sure I read, do some reading or listening to some things to, you know, increase my mind and change my mindset about something. I'm going to fit as much of that stuff that matters to me and during that time. And I'm going to give myself grace because abundantly thinking, I know that there's more to come. So I'm not trying to hold on to it and just get as much done as I can. God has blessed me with another day. That means there's another day for me to be able to do more. I just wanted to bring us back around to that abundance mindset, y'all, because, you know, I want to make sure
I think
that
I'm having different types of abundance too. So, you know, so it's like you said, another day, another time to do something else, but also to give creative abundance to help you problem solve some things that now you may have to change how you attack it and how you do it. Because like you said, you know, different, you know, with your husband being Jamaican and they're used to, you know, being entrepreneurs, they're going to get the food and gather and everything else. And it was just great. But we also know if you go back 20, 30 years ago, people were doing it. There's somebody was like, you know what? I could pick this all day long and I'm tired. I can get 10 of these in a whole 12-hour span. But you know, I wanted there's a way for me to do this where I can get 20 of these and less the time. I have more time now, more abundant time to do something else and
Mhm.
take care of myself and other things. A lot of times we get stuck to the to-do list. We're just trying to get all this done, and we're doing it the same exact way each time, and it's not changing. You're still stressed out. You still feel like you're not. I've been there. Like a week ago, I feel like I'm failing every single aspect because I'm not getting anything. I don't feel like I'm getting anything done
Right.
as efficiently as I would want to. So now at some point you gotta, okay, or like you said, you know what? This is my peak zone. I'm not getting it done anyway, or I'm not getting it done how I want to. So at some point, something's got to give. So how about this? I'm gonna turn it off. It's still not getting done. It wouldn't get done anyways. But now I can sleep better, and I'm feeling better, and I'm not just totally trashed with every single thing.
Right. Right. All
Then if
right.
I can figure out something, a way to make it better, so I can do it better, and it's not as bad, be creative and have something in that aspect.
Absolutely. And going back to knowing yourself, you're able to create that strategy for yourself because you're able to set those priorities and create that routine and align everything where it makes sense to you. And then that way you have that strategy like you were just talking about, you know? So I completely agree. All right, y'all. The last P is purpose. What do you think it feels like? No, not what do you think. In your experience, what does that feel like to just be drifting through life instead of moving with purpose?
Well, if I think about it, there's times that I wake up and I realize I was numb. I'd say, how much time has gone by and yet nothing's changed?
Mm,
So it's losing all that time.
mhm.
Um, that's it. I just being numb and without living on with intention and with purpose, there's no gauge that I could actually set to say, well, I could look back, yes, and I could say, look how much you've accomplished, look what you've done. Absolutely. But still, there's an emotional or spiritual sense in me that feels I've just been numb in that survival mode. And when you're in that survival mode, like y'all said, you cannot you have to know where you are, right? You are here. And when you're in that survival mode, as much as you want to live with intention and have spiritual awakening, um, it's almost impossible to access because you don't have the basics down. You don't have that foundation down. And so, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, Lisa. You're
Thank
absolutely
you.
correct. I would say also, I would add to that and say that drifting, basically, it feels like life is just happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, I felt that way today. I felt like stuff just kept happening. And so then you're constantly reacting, not responding, reacting to what's happening, right? So
Mhm.
again, going back to chaos, right? You are chaotic within, so your life is chaotic around you. And
Mhm.
it's like, how do I wrangle this?
Mhm.
You know? And the truth is that if there is no, like you said, intention or purpose to it, you're just kind of just going with emotions, right? You just fear gets to run a gamut, and you know
Mhm.
your thoughts just run everywhere. You're not even paying attention to what they are. I think they said we have what, like 60,000 thoughts a day or something like that. Like there's no way we can manage all of them. However, we can become more aware sporadically. I'm going to say sporadically because no one is going to be constantly aware of all of those 60,000 thoughts. And I'm telling you, just being more aware of them is difficult to do. But all of this ties to your mindset and how you're thinking about it, right? So if you want to stop drifting and feeling like life is just happening to you, then you have to shift into a space where you become more aware of how you're moving in the world and what you can control. And again, we'll say it, all of this is tied together, interconnected, right, y'all? And you're the determining factor, the one common denominator in everything. So what is the one thing that you can control in all of that then?
Ourselves.
Yeah. You can't control your spouse, your best friend, your boss, your coworkers. You can't control the government. You can't control your community. You can't control the people in the grocery store, the gas station. You can't control anybody. And then you can't even really control your children because you may
Yeah.
think you controlling them. But when they walk out that door, out of your presence, okay? So you can't control anything honestly and truly and have authority and dominion over anyone or anything but yourself. And so that's where you begin to move in purpose. And I promise y'all, if you will begin to do that, you will begin to realize that everything else will begin to fall in line as it should.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that's the part that I think a lot of us miss, is that we're determining that based off what we're seeing. Can I tell y'all something? I am finally moving, I believe, walking in my purpose.
Mhm.
Ask me if I feel like that on a daily basis. Not even a
Life
little.
is sick.
It takes my best friends, Shavon and Shar, to remind me, girl, you remember where you was last year this time? I need people to tell me that. I need people to say, keep going. I need just one person. Saya hopped off. I remember last year, I was doing these meetups. I was feeling like nobody was paying attention. I'm doing all this stuff online, no traction, no nothing. And just this random text comes in on Thanksgiving Day. And she had only attended like 1 or 2 meetups. And she just blessed my whole soul. A whole soul. Because here, I'm out here putting my whole heart out. And this one person says, thank you so much for creating this space for us. And that meant everything for me. So just a side note, y'all, let people know you appreciate them if they bless you in any kind of way, okay? Because for me, that was everything. Because I really was like, I just need to quit. I just need to just stop. Let me stop. But I couldn't because I knew I was walking in purpose. Because I've been drifting for a long time, y'all.
Nick, I like to say too, just being in the observation seat, like you said, not like where were you from a few, last year or 2 or 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but to hear the verbiage out of your mouth, because even though you're not where you want to be, I know you're not there, but to be like, I was just so happy that I felt I'm in my purpose, and your attitude, what you are, I guess, putting out there has changed, and I think your mindset changed on it, because yeah, you're not here, you're right here, and you're not here, so you are further than where you were, but you're feeling happy because you're in your purpose. And when you said something like far as drifting and kind of what everybody else was talking about, and you said life is happening to you, and I think when you say that, it's almost like life is happening to you, so now you're a victim. So you're a victim to what you see. You're a victim to fear. You're a victim to anxiety. You're a victim to all these different things. And I know, to me, it's not when you feel like that, you feel like you're miserable and you feel like you're hopeless and you don't have any power.
Right.
When you're as a victim standpoint versus when you're in some kind of purpose, whether you're fully empowered yet or fully in purpose, you feel stronger. You have a different mindset. You know, okay, I can go do something. Or there's got to be, even if you don't have the strategy yet, there's got to be some way I can do something like this. And you get more hope. When you have more hope, it gets you a little bit further than I'm hopeless. There's nothing I can do. Everything's happening to me. I can't affect anything.
That's right. That's right. And that is I think that is the main underlying current that abides under just drifting, is that, like you said, you're just a victim. You're just being dragged. You're living a prison sentence, right? That's how I used to think about it. You're living a prison sentence as opposed to you're being the leader of your life. And all of y'all are leaders, even if you don't feel like you are, or you're not carrying an official leadership type of title. You are the leader, manager, and administrator and CEO of you. The only thing that you genuinely can change in this life, right? So you all have the power to stop the drifting. Now, it's going to be a process. Be honest with you. It doesn't just happen. You just wake up one day and say, I'm not drifting anymore. I'm going to kill it from this day forward. It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, it does not.
It's a
And it's
process.
work.
It is a process.
Yes, that's right.
It's a
Yeah.
process and it's work, because you can't,
Yeah.
you can sit and vote and
Purpose-
take you.
And some people think of their purpose as their career or their marriage or raising children. A purpose, that's not what a purpose really is.
Mhm. Okay. So
A purpose
Janice, tell me what a
individual
purpose
is
is.
very singular. For me, a purpose is very singular. For me, what makes me happy, and you have to find that out, what makes you happy. That's living your purpose.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So
Yep.
everyone, so I have when I think of purpose, it's okay, how can I live my life today that's going to make me happy? If I'm happy, then I'm making everybody else happy around me. Right? If I'm in a loving space, then I'm exuding that out to the world.
Okay. I agree. However, I do
And
want
that,
to point out
and that
that
is a purpose because people think, oh, I'm not working, so I don't have a purpose. Oh, I don't have a career. I don't have a purpose. I'm not married. I don't have a purpose. That's not really, that does not define a purpose to me.
yeah,
For me, that does not define a purpose to me.
yes, I
You
agree.
really got to know yourself. You have to, I feel like I've been like on this journey to master myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Master.
like self-mastery,
Yes.
I call it.
Yep. Self-mastery. That's what
Yeah.
Central calls it as well.
So I've been on this journey for a while to master myself.
I will say though, I want to clarify that happiness is emotion based.
Yeah. Well,
Be
that's
aspiring
perfect.
for.
I was giving an example
Yeah.
because some people think purpose that, I don't have a purpose in it because I'm not working, or I don't have this career, or I'm not at this point in my career yet, but that's not purpose.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So I just throwing out an example. But again, that purpose is different for everyone. So
Yes, it is very much so subjective.
yeah, it is subjective. Yeah.
Absolutely. What I will say is that I think the foundation of it would be more so not happiness as it would be fulfillment.
You have to know what makes you fulfilled as a person.
Exactly. Now, I will say also
Not
on a
filling
faith
everybody
level,
else's, filling everybody else's it's like because you can't have fulfilling or pour into other people's lives if you're not filled.
right? Absolutely. And I will say that on a faith-based level, right? Our purpose is based off of what we were created here to be, right? And sometimes we overthink that. I think most of the time we overthink.
Yeah.
We severely overthink that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because in general, our creation was here to do what God says, right? To love him with all of our heart, mind, body, soul, right? To love others as we love ourselves. That's the very basics of our purpose of existence, y'all.
Exactly.
The very basics. We make it too hard.
Make it to her. Exactly.
Yes. And then we start going too deep into it, right? Then we're like, okay, well, what am I called to this? Am I called to that? And that's not
right.
relevant.
That's not purpose.
That's not relevant. But
Right.
I was on fast track to becoming a minister years ago, and I was miserable of even the thought of it because I thought, right? I ran with what I thought. When in reality, God was like, no, you're going to do this right here, but you're going to do it like this, not like that, right? I'm trying to think, okay, well, this is my purpose because this is what everyone else says it is. And I was miserable. And there's no peace in that, right? There's no abundance in that. There's no prosperity in that.
Right.
So you got to just think of it from that perspective and just kind of embrace the fact that one, overthinking it, and two, it really starts with what is going to cause you to be fulfilled. And that goes back to that self-discovery aspect, because then you understand if these are my values, this is what matters to me. And this is going to make me feel fulfilled. Right. Because when it's all said and done, y'all, when you're in, like, let's say, for instance, I hate to say it this way, but let's say you're on your deathbed years from now. What is going to, like, I think Jameis just was talking about it. When you look back and you say, that's what has happened in my life. That's what, I feel like I've done or fulfilled or whatever. What is that going to look like for you? Even the simple exercise of, like, I know we've had to do this, Shavon, we've had to do this in Daniel's Den, where you write your obituary and you're starting at the end and saying, this is who I want people to remember me as, this is the legacy I want to leave. And then you reverse engineer that thing and say, okay, this is the life that I want to live. How do I become her? And And so that kind of puts you in a space where you're able to say, okay, one, am I overthinking this, or am I doing or pursuing any of this based off what other people say or think?
Right, right.
Yeah. So
And when
it's
I
I
when
think
I'm on
doing
that
it.
bed, I'm gonna be like, damn, I had one hell of a life. I got
I was just
wait, like you
listening
said,
to
back to
I feel
self.
like I'm ready to I had a good life though.
she said she gonna ride it till the wheels fall off.
I know, right?
But I think that goes back to, like you said, back to self, because a lot of that, oh, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't have this, I don't have that, oh, that's my calling. Okay, calling, I think the purpose is they're similar, but they're still separate at some point. And some of that too is societal pressure. You know, I'm
Oh, yeah.
supposed to be married at this age, have kids. So you don't want everybody telling you what you should be. Some
Yeah.
people don't want to be a mom, but they're a great auntie, they're a great support, and they may not can be. So at the end, what is that's your purpose is to be. And then again, motherly and being a mom as far as nurturing, caring, all that, those are different things. Don't mean you have to be give physical birth.
Yeah.
There's plenty of moms who give physical birth are not good mothers, as far
Right.
as speak as far as definition. Or same thing you said, being a minister. Okay, minister don't mean you have to be in a pulpit, because you can minister on your job, you can minister to your friend, you can do all the different things. So we get so tied up in, I think, the verbiage, and we don't realize the purpose or what it's doing behind it. What is the minister doing? So then let's now, strip this title down, or strip down, the title of being a mom, or strip down all these different things, and you can kind of see through that. And like you said, I think happens fulfillment are two different things, but I can understand the same point, because I can even say professionally, this day I'm not happy. I don't want to be here. I'm tired of dealing with these people over here. The boss is treating me like this. I ain't get paid enough for this. I'm getting screamed at. That's that. But then you get one person who comes in, and it happens all the time. And I'm like, I'm ready to walk out of here. And then you get that one person sit down, and they're just like, thank you for listening. Thank you for this. You figured this out. Nobody listened to me before. Nobody explained this to me before. I understand this. It's like, I ain't happy, but I'm fulfilled, because you just tickle where this is what I want to do. I want to be that for people. And it matter I'm not getting that paid one extra penny. My boss is still a butthole back here. You know what I'm saying? I still got cussed out. It didn't change. I got cussed out 5 minutes ago, but just because one person sat there and gave you that thing that, I feel like you found this, I feel better now, I'm doing this, or you know what, I listened to this, I didn't think that was the right thing to do, but you kind of hung in there with me, and you kind of coached me through it, you educated me on it, and I actually feel better. It's like, hey, okay, I feel fulfilled now. I'm not happy still, but I'm fulfilled now, because that was my purpose. You just tapped into that, and you just, and sometimes it's even that remembrance that's like, hey, this little coin or little confirmation, like you did what you're supposed to.
Right. We call it a trigger object in coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. To remind yourself. And
I'm
which is
still angry. I'm still mad and stressed out, but I'm happy.
right.
Moment,
Right. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like I can go a little further. I can do this. Now I got a little extra win to finish the rest of this day off, because okay,
Yeah.
you just put, you got that purpose fulfilled a little bit.
Yeah. Y'all, I think this has been a really good conversation. I really wish we could have actually done a full-blown workshop and did some of the exercises, but we'll do that later time. But I really enjoyed the conversation. We could keep going. I know we could, but we're definitely at the time. So I'm going to stop the recording, and then we can have a little bit longer conversation. And if anyone has any comments or questions or whatnot, and I just want to let you all know what we have coming up as well. And then we'll hop off the call in a few more minutes. But for all of you that are listening, thank you so much for listening. Shavon, thank you so much for being my special guest, which we will be doing a lot more of, because she and I are founding this organization together, Global Women's Transformation Collective, and we're going to be doing more of these in the community that we're getting ready to start in order to reach women globally and offer strategies and coaching and training and teaching on holistic empowerment. So I am going to go ahead and stop the recording here. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Strategic Transformations with Nikki. I hope you found today's discussion both insightful and inspiring. Remember, Transformation isn't just a destination, it's a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to the empowered life you envision. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other amazing women in your network. For more resources, strategies, and to stay connected with me, follow me on social media at I am Nikki Cates, and visit my website at www.nikkicates.com. Don't forget to join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to strategizing, transforming, and empowering each other every day. Until next time, keep strategizing, keep transforming, and keep empowering yourself and those around you. You have the power to create incredible change in your life and work. I'm Nikki signing off. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.